So, I'm recording this pilot episode of the Bonnet Chronicles, which I'm going to put on YouTube to start, but I will hopefully be putting this on my Twitch channel because it'll be easier. My channel's already set up for it. But I figured that instead of waiting, that I would get the first pilot episode up today. And one of the things that I definitely need to talk about, which I did a little while ago, is complacency. I already see it. It wasn't even a few hours after Biden's declared victory that some people who have followed me for years, who claim to wholeheartedly support the things I say, are already going, let's just celebrate the win. Now, I don't want to take from anybody's joy. I am feeling so much more relieved than I have in years. But I also need people to understand that complacency is exactly what got us Trump in the first place. And the fact that so many of you are ignoring that he had a higher number of white people vote for him this time around is really telling. And this isn't going to be a whole Bonnet Chronicle on dragging white people. I know some people look forward to stuff like that with me. That's not my goal. My goal is to work on those who really want to fight the good fight, because that's the problem that I'm seeing with so many complacent uh type tweets and Facebook posts and people speaking out about how we should just be happy with this win. Why can't we just be happy with this win? Complacency is dangerous. And those of us who are marginalized have never got to be complacent. We've never gotten to the not have to fight for our rights. We've never had a day where we could just go without worrying who's in charge and what they're going to do against us. So I need those of you who still feel like you don't have to worry to start worrying. Why? Because we don't have a Supreme Court that will rule in our favor currently. Mitch McConnell still holds his seat, along with a few GOP senators who really should have lost their elections but didn't somehow. We still have the fact that way too many Americans are A-OK with hate. And it's not okay to get mad at people for pointing out that far too many white Americans are A-OK with voting for hatred and bigotry. I know that some of you have a hard time getting out of your bubble. You're trying, and I will applaud those of you who try. But you're going to make a lot of missteps in being anti-racist and fighting for actual progress because you don't know how to do it. You've never felt like everything was on the line before Donald Trump, and it shows. Because now you think, oh, we can just go and relax. There's no relaxing. Not if you're black, not if you're Latino, especially Latinos who realize that you won't pass enough for white around actual white supremacists. Not if you're Asian or Southeast Asian or indigenous in any way. Not if you're LGBT, Jewish, even Catholics are attacked by these so called good Christians. And Muslims, you can forget about it. There are plenty of us who have spent well beyond the last 4 years, well before the last 4 years, struggling and worrying and trying to organize. And it would help if so many of you who claim to get it would work with us on actual progress and actually getting stuff done to make sure that we have not just a functioning presidency, but a functioning House and a functioning Senate. And I see that there's a lot of people who are saying stuff like this, and they're getting pushback already. And if your first instinct to say to somebody who's marginalized, who are lamenting the fact that we have so much work to do, to just enjoy the win, I don't think you're ready to be around us. Because if anything, I'm more ready to strategize. Because, like I said in another video, we are facing a full pronged assault. And it's not just from the cultists to the right. We have an issue with the cultists to the left as well. These so called progressives who can't even turn out actual votes, who are now taking credit for the Biden Harris win when they've done nothing but shank us in the back. Now, some of them supposedly is forming the People Party, which I guarantee you aren't going to get off the ground and will probably only succeed in filling the pockets of a few grifters. But the rest will still continue to use Democratic resources, the Democratic platform, all the while attacking Democrats who want to get the work done. And it's tiring. I'm a writer. My first book is being edited. I'm hopeful that I'll be able to finally release it next year now that things are starting to get calm. I have so many art projects and writing projects on the line right now that I'd rather be focused on. But I have seriously talked to my partner about running for a representative seat now because we have a certain little Missy who spent her whole time tearing the party down, now gloating like she helped from the get. And it's time that we Black women, if we can step up to this plate, to do so. Now, for me, it would not be easy to run for office, even though I have an education background, even though I have a clean history, no arrests, none of that. I also have mental health issues, which I don't shy away from because mental health is a health issue. It's not a personal or character flaw, and I don't use it to make excuses for my actions. But it would hurt me in making a serious political bid. That's why when people tweet at me that I should run for office, I smile, but I also know that it would be a really hard road for me because of the mental stress, because of fearing an opponent attacking me on something like that, which, let's face it, in politics, people do stuff like that. But if Representative Tlaib isn't primaried by an actual Democrat, and I'm calling her a non-actual Democrat, I don't care if people get upset by this at this point, but if we don't have a serious contender, I am seriously thinking about putting in a bid now because this can't stand. You can't just put a D by your name and then spend your whole career shitting on the party that you gladly use the resources for in a supposed safe district. And you can't use the sister girl routine when it's convenient for you. And that's what I wanted to explain to people about being a Black woman in whole. Because even though I hate being placed in a monolith, I understand that so many of us have the same ideals and the same backgrounds and the same self preservation, but we're not the same. I'm a nerd. I have gone through a lot in my life, and I have continued to realize that things that work for me doesn't work for everybody, but I've seen way too many women who utilize the fact that Black women are a reliable demographic and voting bloc to use us as stepping stones and then leave us behind, including fellow Black women. And Representative Tlaib has pulled that a few times. And her gloating on Twitter after saying that she couldn't support our nominee is telling. And too many of you ignore the stuff that she puts out there and only amplifies when it looks like she's on our side. And that's another thing that we all need to look out for. There are too many people that amplify those who look the part instead of those who do the work. And it's really exhausting. It's why I don't put out there the things I do outside making these videos because I'm not doing them for praise. Anything that I do to help the party is to help the party. Because the moment you get into doing stuff for politics or social issues to get a pat on the head, it's like a drug. You never stop wanting that. You become addicted to the praise and you become addicted to the attention. So if you're not working on doing better for this country when there's nobody paying attention, then you're in it for the wrong reasons. And I know some of you don't want to hear that, but this is what these Bonnet Chronicles are going to be about. I'm going to tell you the things you don't want to hear, but you need to. So many of you have fallen into the trap of needing attention. Twitter and other social media doesn't help. That's why they tried to get rid of that like thing. I don't particularly agree with them trying to get rid of the like now. It's too ingrained into their system. But I understand why they're finally seeing it as an issue. Because too many of us have fallen for the, oh, we have to have this like, oh, viral likes, oh, viral tweets. And now that's all that matters. Popularity is a human construct that we will not be able to just veer away from. But there needs to be more of us willing to go past the grain, do the work, whether people are watching us or whether we get a pat on the back for it or not. Because way too many of us are still out there putting out our business for kudos. I'm not going to be one of those people. If I talk about anything, it's going to be about health issues. It's going to be about politics. It's going to be about social awareness. You might get to see my background. I know some of you wanted to see, the Geek Menagerie. Maybe one day I'll even go do a 360 tour of the room that I will most likely be filming these in. But honestly, I feel like you've come here to hear the truth. And the truth is, it does feel good to know that Trump will no longer be leader of this supposed free country. But it doesn't feel good that so many of y'all are already falling back into your patterns. And like I said, I can tell just which Democrats understood what was at stake and what we still have to do versus those of you who are going to go back to being complacent. And if you feel upset at me for calling you complacent, then you need to work on that too, because your defense mechanism is another thing that I don't feel like having to constantly fight against, but you just keep on doing it anyway. Now, as far as the future format of this cast is going to be, I plan on fully going on Twitch because I'll be able to interact with y'all. You will be able to leave live comments while I'm doing it. Hopefully, I can go at least a half hour to an hour with the Bonnet Chronicles and maybe even have guests. I am really looking forward to doing this on top of the creative projects. I really do intend on launching Axiom within next year. I have a bunch of short stories that I will be hoping to publish as soon as possible as well. So there's a lot on the horizon, and I'm hopeful that I'll be able to help vote actual Democrats into House and Senate seats so that we can get our government functioning. Because once the government's functioning, we can work on the society problems because there are an awful lot of them. And there are an awful lot of us who are in fear that the society is going to turn against us, going to take away our rights, going to harm our families. And that hasn't stopped just because we had this historic win. People who want to adopt, who are LGBT, in my state alone, still have to face a lot of hurdles. Black women still have to deal with a healthcare system that doesn't even want to deal with our pain or the fact that our bodies can't handle some of the things that they just dismiss us for. Black men are still being targeted as thugs as little as 12. You want to act like this country is just magically going to be better without putting in the work for it? Really? No. That's why I decided to do this pilot episode of the Bonnet Chronicles today, because it needs to be said that there are some of you that are really going to be dangerous if we don't speak up. Because the GOP had to have learned a lesson from Donald Trump. And that lesson was they can't have a bullhorn for their true beliefs anymore. They have to have somebody who can not only dog whistle, but be velvet with the dog whistle. They have to have somebody who could speak their language, which is bigotry, power, racism, money, all the hatred, but look normal doing it. Donald Trump was a litmus test that so many Americans failed. Donald Trump was also a symptom of the real danger and the real sickness that our country indulges in. The vapidness, the sallowness, the self-indulgence, the fact that we turn a blind eye to the hatred that consumes us. The fact that you don't want to face it because You might be facing a family member or a friend. And I'm sorry, as somebody who has cut out family members and friends for less, it really is eye opening. Some of you's wanting to hold on to toxic, abusive relationships because you don't want to rock the boat. Even if that boat is rickety, rotten, and on its last voyage. So I thank you for watching this if you did tune in. I plan on doing at least a weekly format of this. And like I said, this is just a pilot episode on YouTube. I will be doing this on Twitch, which will also upload to YouTube. But the reason why I want to do it on Twitch is to have it live, to have people be able to interact, kind of like they do on Instagram without having to make an Instagram account. And that's another thing. My social media currently is KalariGxC on Twitter and on Facebook under Tanisa Walker. If you see an account on Instagram saying that it's me, it's not. If you see an account anywhere else where I don't verify that it's actually me, it's not. Right now, the only platform you see me on currently every day is Twitter. I don't even really use Facebook, and if it wasn't for monitoring my family, I'd probably delete my account on that app. So I just want to put that out there for those of you who want to find me in other social media venues. You can find me on Twitter or Twitch under KalariGxC. And I want to thank everybody who has been supportive, those who have supported the Anchor FM cast that I do every once in a while called the Social Aware Nightmare. I want to thank everybody who's followed me on Twitter, everybody who constantly donates and just tries to keep my voice relevant, those who share, those who interact with me, because I don't use social media just to build following. I actually interact with my followers, and I try to show people that it is about building friendships and building coalitions and finding people to fight with you instead of against you. And there's just so much work to be done, and I am grateful for all of you who understand that and who are willing to work with me. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up, get this uploaded to YouTube, and once again, thank you for tuning in.